Hello and welcome back to the worst Warmachine channel on the internet. I'm Malorian and it's time for another Warmachine Battle Report. Now, I'm about to go into a little foray into Infernals. However, I still have my mercenaries and I had a game I played last week that I really wanted to make a battle report for. And the reason why is because I did it with my Cephalics. I have this Cephalic list that I've been sitting on for a while, thinking it'd be pretty good. And the thing is like, my Cephalics brothers out there, you don't get a lot of love, right? Sometimes you'll see some mercenary battle reports, but it's almost never going to be Cephalics. And when you do see Cephalics, it's usually something where it is like a Thexus list with as few actual Cephalic stuff as possible. So I'm going to go with Cyphon. You know, if nothing else, Cyphon loves having lots of wreckers. If you don't know why, because you don't know Cephalics and you probably don't know Cyphon, it's because Cyphon's feat is that all of its monstrosities get +3 speed, +3 strength, and +3 armor. However, at the end of your activation, you take a damage in each of your columns, which isn't actually always a bad thing because that means you got hurt and you get another fury, the way that monstrosities work. So this is a list that can hit really hard, has a lot of offensive power, and I thought, hey, you know what? Let's take this out for a ride and see what it can do. Now, I'm going to be playing against my buddy Darrell, and this is going to be his Scorn, and this is looks like a silly list, right? You look at this with the Desert Hydra and the battle engines, and you're like, okay, this guy just wanted to grab all the huge bases and just do something silly. No, this one might look silly, but it's really serious, and the reason why it is because there's a massive armor skew here. So, I mean, this is being led by Xekaar, and Xekaar's feat is kind of like a Denegra 1 thing in Scorn, where you're minusing all these stats from the opponent, and the important one there is -3 strength, which really means that your own group around you is getting +3 armor. So that's pretty awesome. On top of that, you have the Agonizer, which is going to be reducing strength, and then you also have it so that you have the Death Archon, which is -2 to damage rolls from living things. And what you're really seeing here is a 7-point swing in damage, which is crazy. So put that on top of things like the Hydra and the Battle Engine, and yeah, you can have a hell of a time trying to take these things down. So this game is going to be kind of like a hammer versus a rock, you know, the unstoppable force versus the immovable object, and we're gonna have to see how this one goes. All right, so we rolled off for initiative. Luckily, I won. However, I got stuck with this side here. Now, this is one where I was actually wondering if I wanted to go second, because when you're up against huge bases, making them deal with a building like that can really cause them a lot of issues. However, I felt that if I did that, he'd have a lot of pressure over the board. And since, again, he is the ranged army, really, with all those sprays from the Hydra and the guns from the Battle Engine, I didn't think that was really the best thing for me. So I decided to go first. He stuck me down here, and I really need to get past this little kind of like choke point in the middle. One of the worst things that could happen to me is, even though I have Onslaught so I can be dealing with terrain, if I get stuck not being able to deploy my force as I need to on my feet, it's probably going to be game over, and he can kind of like eat me up pretty easy. So I need to get up as fast as possible and put on that pressure. Otherwise, you know, there could be a scenario game here, so I am going to be having my Eliminators on the flanks. You'd normally also see like Eliminators central, because you can actually hurt your own guys. We're actually kind of playing the same thing there too, where my Eliminators can be hurting my monstrosities to put focus on them, just like how he's going to be whipping his own battle engines and be putting tokens onto them. So we're kind of playing the same game, but now that I have Dr. Stygius, I don't really need it. They're really going to be there to contest. So going into my first turn, you know, I have my Eliminators rushing up each side. I kind of put Perseverance up onto Asphyxious the Sanctified, and so now it has extra armor. That should help it out a little bit. Allocate 1 to each of my wreckers. the Wreckers run up, then Dr. Stygius is going to give them all another Fury. So that's great. You know, they each are going to be loaded up with this, you know, focus on them because they have brains, they get to keep it. So that's really important when you're dealing with Cephalix. And yeah, just really trying to get in there and force things. Now, he could, you know, shoot me and I could be doing hyper aggressive, but that's kind of a numbo because there's no way if he started shooting me that I'm actually going to survive by the time I get to him, right? Like he just sprayed me down. So normally if there's like a couple of guns, you can lean onto that hyper aggressive bonus that you get. But in this game, no, that's not going to be the case at all. Going on to his turn then, he is going to be just going up pretty carefully, staying outside of my threat. Again, he's the one with all the guns and stuff, so he can be pretty careful. Like I said, he kind of whips his own battle engines, giving them some extra tokens of their own. You're also going to see kind of like in the middle there that he has what looks like two of the little lesser war beast things. Those are actually the Bellows Crew. It's the one proxy. It's not going to matter. Just thought I'd point it out now. But yeah, this is going to be pretty much it. The big thing that's going to be deciding something now tactically is that his objective, he decided to make it so that it was magical attacks. And it's at this point now that we realize my clouds from Gaspy is going to be very significant. So I'm going to go up there, and even though he could be making his Hydra really fast, I can stay outside of the walk distance and be pressuring him, being like, okay, if you come inside this zone, I'm going to get you. So either you can let me start going up on scenario, or let's see what our feats are going to do. So that's what I do. I go up and I put up those clouds there. So I have a nice spot there where I can hide behind them, staying out of the walk up and bite range of the Hydras and being a good spot to threaten everything that comes inside. Probably would have been nicer if I would have had Gaspy up a little bit further to threat, but you know, it's just the way it goes. You can only move 6 to do your clouds. Otherwise, I'm contesting the flag on the right. Probably doesn't matter because he doesn't really have any solos over there other than like the Death Archon, which probably isn't going to run that way, but just playing it smart. Of course, I have the Stalker in my own zone. I have the one pistol Wraith inside of my flag, and even though he has magical weapons, he can't charge me. I'm outside of that range, so I'm safe. And then I have the one Kayazy in his zone, and even though, again, I know he can kill my Kayazy, if he wants to be dedicating resources to be going away, yeah, sure, go ahead. Get away from the main fight. So if he takes the bait and goes against the Kayazy on either flank, you know, that's going to be just a win for me. Now, the one play I did do here that I was uncertain about is that Wrecker on the left. I kind of felt that I needed something over there just to kind of put some pressure on. But even if I go and put it like tucked around the corner, which I probably could do because I get so fast with my feet, a lot of his range stuff comes from sprays anyway, so I don't even get cover. So I'm like, screw it. Let's just put it there. I'm probably going to be losing one Wrecker because of this, but hey, you know, I have 5 of them anyway, and if him going into me says let's go and let's this game going, as opposed to like him kind of like jostling around, maybe getting some good shots and working things down, I might as well go for that. All right, so going on to his turn then, that's exactly what he is going to do, is go into that Wrecker on the left, you know, basically just coming over here with the one battle engine just to make sure things are contested. He was also hoping he could be killing the Kayazy with it as well, those in the zone. That didn't work out, so he kind of like trampled over, contested, got some shots in, and then the Hydra came over, sprayed down the heavy. So there's one record down, but like I said, that's all right, because in order to do that, you're now within range of my feet. And then probably the biggest thing I was worried about was then the battle engine running in and then blocking me in with that building protecting the rest of his force, but he didn't do that. And of course, the reason why he didn't do that is just to make sure that if I want to go up and fight him now, he did feat, so the feat's going in. I would have to have my strength reduced by the Agonizer. I'd have it reduced by the Death Archon. Whereas if he would have ran forward, then I could have maybe killed it. It's just the big thing there, be like that order of activation. And do I have enough attacks to kill it so that then I free things up to get to the actual Hydra? So this is it. This is go time. He's popped his feet. If I don't go for this, I'm in a lot of trouble. So what the plan is here is that the Stalker's going to go in there and then, of course, debuff their armor a bit from the ability that was across from Gaspy to be doing the Dark Shroud. Then I'll go up there with my Agonizer, and I'm going to instigate, making my wreckers get +2 to hit, +2 damage. And then, yeah, it is just swing time. And the funny thing here is, like I was saying, is that we have such a wild skew on both sides. On his side, he has a 7-point swing, and I have a 7-point swing because I also have the +3 from my Cyphon, +2 from the Agonizer, basically +2 from the Gaspy ability. And so, yeah, it's a complete wipe. You know, both of us are doing all these crazy things, and it's as if none of us are doing anything whatsoever. But, you know, the one thing that is different here is that my mat's going down as well. Now, I'm correcting that mat with my Agonizer, but I only start out at mat 5, so I'm actually pretty lucky that his defense, because I'm hitting a Hydra and a Battle Engine, is pretty low anyway. But I just really need this to work, because if I go in here and it doesn't, I've probably lost the game. Luckily for me, it goes extremely well. I do those 2 setups like I kind of planned. Of course, I also allocated an extra 1 to everybody. Stygius did the extra 1 again, so everybody's full focus. And then when it's go time, it is go time. Those wreckers go in there, start swinging. And a lot of times they might lose 1 because they'd have to charge in. Again, I am speed 8, so I very easily just walk up to wherever I need. Actually, wrecker 3 charged in just to make room for the other wrecker and for Gaspy if needed. But as you can see here, after I did my first 3 wreckers, I destroyed everything. It was ridiculous. Now, I should say, this is not normal math. My dice were hot. You know, like some of them were average and whatever, but other ones, I was rolling like 10s and 11s. So, okay, these things all went down really quick. Also note, though, that I still have, like, you know, another wrecker to go, and I also have Gaspy to go. So I felt pretty good that you know, even if things didn't skew, I'd be able to do this. Especially the Battle Engine. The Battle Engine was going to die for sure. I could get a lot of things onto it. The big thing I was worried about really was going to be that actual Hydra, because I could only really get 2 wreckers on it. Maybe I could finagle another one, but it was going to be extremely difficult. So luckily that all worked out. And then, yeah, once we got to this point here, Darrell's like, okay, we can just throw in the towel now, because even though we could play this out, you know, I'm still now, because I'm at this point, I can run up another one of my wreckers to be there to be ready. I'm going to be able to go up there with my Gaspy, who can now cloud and try and protect me. And while he's trying to get revenge on me, I still have the defensive part of my feat. I still have the +3 armor. And then even if that wasn't a factor, I mean, look, and now that everything's kind of spent, the Battle Engine and the Death Archon just isn't enough to be trying to fight off 4 heavies and a Gaspy. So this is really it. So we throw in the towel here, and let's just talk about Cephalix for a second. So for all my Cephalix friends out there, I hope you like this. You know, it is kind of sad times that in our old world of drudges can't really do the thing that they used to do, but there still is a lot of power here, right? We've seen all the lists with Thexus and the Crow's Cutthroats that can do very well. Of course, having that we can have Gaspy 4 in our list really helps. If you don't want to do the Gaspy and you're going to be doing the Void Archons, you can be doing that too for the damage swing. But especially like I've been showing here with Cyphon, I even think that Cyphon has a place, because right now we're kind of playing with like these big pieces that are supposed to be, you know, super rock solid and all this stuff, and you have a very fast army that can get in there and just, you know, smash face. You know, like if it's not normally these things are POW 17, they're going to be feeding up to 20. They're going to be having the Agonizer taking up the POW 22. And then if you have, you know, a Void Archon or Gaspy, then you're going up to POW 24. And being that we have Dr. Stygius, and so you could be basically getting like 5 attacks with all these things, man, you can smash the world. It is amazing. Unfortunately, you won't get they're not constructs, so they won't get the +2 threat to be charging things with Gaspy. But hey, they get the +3 speed, so they threat a good ways anyway. And as you saw here, you know, if you lose one, you can usually pretty much like hit back hard enough that it's okay. So Cephalix friends out there, hopefully this battle report gives you some more courage to go out there and keep on trying. And otherwise, you know, if you have any other thoughts on the games or anything like that, I'd love to hear it down below. And otherwise, we'll catch you later. Bye.